360. I'm one of the coaches. Today we're going to be focusing on whole foods. This is a subject that we've talked a lot about in our past webinars, but we kind of wanted to take a different approach this time. So today we're going to just highlight very briefly what are whole foods, which foods does that include, why should you eat them, and then we're going to do something a little bit different today that we think will help you fit whole foods into your life. We want to make it easy for you to be healthy, and so we're going to show you some ways to incorporate whole foods into your life and hopefully make it a little more convenient and lead you to better health that way. So, first of all, whole foods are considered unprocessed, unrefined, they don't have any additives. They're as close to their natural state as you can possibly be. So it really is foods that don't come in packages. Foods that you could get right from the plant or animal is one way to look at it. So we talk a lot about reading labels and educating yourself. In the case of whole foods, what we really want you to do is just avoid those labels. Buy foods that don't have labels. Buy meats, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts, things like that. So when we're going to talk about some of the different area of foods that we want you to incorporate, here are just some ideas. So healthy fats are really important for your overall health. They impact your digestion, they impact your metabolism, they impact your brain function. So it's really important to include fats, and it's really important to include the right kinds of fats. And the right kinds of fats are found in whole foods. So some examples would be extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, butter, if you can get grass-fed butter, clarified butter. Ghee is a type of clarified butter, and other cold-pressed nut oils. There's walnut oil, there's almond oil. Some of them have different benefits. Some of them have different cooking levels, the temperatures that they can sustain. But overall, you're going to be better. This is one area where it might be a good idea to go organic, or at the very least, make sure you are reading the ingredient list, because a lot of olive oils and other cooking oils are actually diluted with some less beneficial oils. So if you buy olive oil, you want it to be olive oil. So that would just be a suggestion there. Grains, not a huge fan of grains. If you've been on some of our past webinars, you know, but it's mostly because most of the grain products that people consume are processed, and they take the healthy part of the grain and they change it in a way that makes it not beneficial for us. It just makes it easy. So in this case, some of the things to keep in mind when you do want to have, you know, that starchy side, and I hate to say that because I really do try to get people away from that, but try to include things like quinoa, bulgur, oats. In this case, you know, we really want you to be focusing on unprocessed oats. A lot of the instant oatmeal isn't as healthy as it could be. So learn to read some labels. We're going to put tricks up on the website, on the blog, as we always do. But quinoa is a really good one because it does have a lot of extra protein. So especially for vegetarians and vegans, quinoa is a nice way to get your protein without having to go for animal products. For nuts and seeds, some of the best ones, almonds, pine nuts, sesame seeds, cashews, sunflower seeds, they all have a lot of benefits. Brazil nuts, pecans, walnuts. The thing with nuts, you just need to be careful, because while we do want you to focus on whole foods, we also want you to do it in a beneficial way for your body. So every whole food isn't an unlimited food. There are still healthy amounts of whole foods that you should be consuming, but it's still important to have those foods. So with nuts, an average serving size of almonds is about 20 almonds, which is important to follow, because after you overdo something so healthy and great for you like almonds, the health risks that are associated after you overdo them can be detrimental as well. So we want you to consume them, but we want you to consume them in really healthy amounts. Fruits and vegetables, you know, again, if you've been on past webinars, we can't say enough good things about vegetables and fruits. There are a lot of natural sugars in fruits, so that's one I would just be aware of. When you eat those foods, try to gauge how your body feels when you have those foods. If you're eating a high sugar fruit and you notice that you maybe crash really early after eating it, that might be something you want to eat a little bit less of. But pay attention to how these foods make you feel. I firmly believe that the more of the whole foods that you eat, the better you are going to feel, the more energy you're going to have. and you're going to start to recognize that. Vegetables, again, obviously vegetables, everyone knows vegetables are healthy. So whether you saute them or steam them or prepare them however you want, vegetables are great. So we want you to include those. Meats and other proteins, really, really important just for your overall energy needs, for your metabolism, for your muscle maintenance, especially as you age. Protein is a huge part of what needs to happen in your diet. So beef, even, beef, we want you to try to get grass-fed beef if you can. There's a lot of benefits associated with grass-fed beef. It's got healthier fats for you. It actually has a healthier omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Not going to go into that too much today, but just know that that's a good thing, grass-fed beef if you can. If you're going with grain-fed beef, try to get as lean as possible so that you're cutting out the fat. 93 or 96% lean is what I recommend. Try to stick with that. Chicken, same thing. Try to go with cage-free, antibiotic-free, hormone-free chicken. Whenever you can find a type of chicken that one of the coaches refers to as happy chickens. We like our chickens happy because when they're happy, their bodies are happy, and you benefit from that. So you are what you eat. You want to eat things that are good for you. Turkey, similar. You want to look for high quality fish, different kinds of fish. If you can find wild fish versus farm fish, there's some information you want to do on that, but fish overall is a really healthy choice. The best beans that I like to recommend are going to be black beans and lentils. Some people react similar to processed grains when they eat beans. Black beans and lentils, a lot of people don't have that same reaction. But again, it's all about experimenting for yourself, how you feel when you eat these foods. Beans and lentils are a great source of fiber and protein, and especially, like I said before, when you are a vegetarian or a vegan, these are going to be good things for you to incorporate into your diet. Eggs and egg whites, kind of similar to the chicken. Try to go cage-free. Get happy chickens, eggs from happy chickens. You want to have all the benefits from those eggs without all of the hormones and antibiotics put into them. So same thing. Dairy, cottage cheese and Greek yogurt, they have minimal ingredients, and they take very little processing. So these are two things that kind of seem like counterintuitive when I say don't read labels, don't get things in packages. These are two things, though, that we do encourage you to have for vegetarians. If you're not following a strict vegan diet, these are a great source of protein as well. So there are some benefits to those, so we want to put those in with our whole foods, again, because they are minimally processed and tend to have one ingredient. So why always talk about whole foods? Again, if you've been on our past webinars, you know why. You're so much healthier when you have these whole foods. These are just a couple of the benefits, but these are some of the biggest ones that seem to catch people's eyes and make them realize why these are really good things. And later on down the road, you might experience all these other benefits, but some that you're going to have right away. It's going to help with your digestion. You're getting foods that are purely foods. They're from the earth. They're going to go through your body the way they were meant to. They don't have all this extra stuff that hangs out in your body or changes your body's chemistry. They're just beneficial. They provide you energy. They provide you the vitamins and nutrients you need without extra junk. Weight control. So much easier to control your weight, lose weight, maintain a healthy weight when you're eating whole foods. Again, because processed foods not only tend to have a lot of extra calories and fats and things that we don't need, but they tend to change your actual chemical makeup of your body and can change your hormones and can change the way your body processes food, making it really hard to control that weight. Energy, obviously energy. You're gonna feel so much better because you're getting pure energy in the best form. You're not getting foods that weigh you down. You're not getting foods that are sluggish in your system. You're getting all the nutrients you need when your vitamin and nutrient levels are balanced. It's going to provide the right kind of energy. It's going to help you use the foods that you're taking in to produce energy for your body. Clear skin, this is one benefit that a lot of people see when they cut out processed foods. Some people attribute it to the water intake. When you're getting those vegetables and fruits, you're getting extra water. You're kind of purifying your system. You're getting rid of all that junk that you may have eaten for years. Improved brain function is a huge one. People think more clearly when they're eating the right foods for their body. So as well as the things that contribute to brain function. Those omega-3s are a big one. Some of the healthy fats help with that. But you tend to, when you feel better, you think better, and you can apply yourself more. So one of the golden rules that I always tell people when they're trying to create a meal or a snack is to try to build your meal around a lean protein and a vegetable or a fruit. So pick one of the proteins from the list, pick a vegetable or a fruit. You're going to be getting fiber, you're going to be getting protein. You're going to be getting carbohydrates from those vegetables or fruits. So it's just a really nice way to kind of balance it out and give you a feeling of kind of contentness when you have different flavors involved and different textures. But at the very least, you know, this is a basic rule to follow when you're kind of trying to create your meals. So I just want to go through a few examples of some sample meals that, you know, they seem simple, but we want to make sure that you know that whole foods don't have to be really, really hard to incorporate in your diet. And we want to know that there are some really good foods and recipes that are built around whole foods that are going to make you feel good. So some of these, we're going to have some recipes up for you after the webinar on our blog, the healthcheck360blog.com, where we'll have the video of this, but we'll also put these recipes in some links. But some of these are pretty self-explanatory. Plain Greek yogurt, blueberries, and ground flaxseed. I just want to make sure that your flaxseed is ground so that your body can fully absorb all the nutrients. When you eat flaxseed and it's not ground, it's in that whole state, your body can't absorb it, so you don't get to have all the benefits from it. You know, an omelet, that's a perfect example of a whole food. You know, eggs, egg whites, any vegetables you want. These are just some suggestions, but vegetables, and you can stick another lean protein in there if you'd like, but that's just a really simple way. You don't have to make it an omelet. You can scramble it up. You can use hard-boiled eggs. You can throw it together however you want, but there you've got your protein, you've got your healthy fats from that yolk, you've got your vegetables, so you're getting fiber and a lot of flavor. Breakfast quinoa is going to be something that we'll put the recipe up for, but it's just something that is kind of out of the ordinary for you. So if you're looking for ways to try quinoa and you don't want to incorporate it into like a saltier or savory meal, you can sweeten it up with cinnamon and things like that and make it a breakfast dish. And it's great because you're getting a nice surge of fiber and protein and other carbohydrates to provide you energy right away in the morning. Lunch. You can use things like canned tuna. So again, I know it comes in a package, but that's going to be something. Canned tuna and water, pretty basic. There's one ingredient. So canned tuna and water, if you want to prepare that, if you like to have it a little bit, mixed with something, a tablespoon of olive oil and some balsamic vinegar, over anything really, over any kind of vegetables you want. But here just with mixed greens, you can use walnuts on top of there. Throw in other vegetables. It makes a really nice salad. And it kind of gives you this unique flavor, but it's still whole food. You know, you're not missing out. You're not having to use things from a package. Your basic chicken breast and broccoli or cauliflower, I know that a lot of people, I think, when they think they're going to eat better, it's chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli. But you can flavor that however you want. You know, there's different seasonings that you can use that we're going to help you with, and you can flavor that in any way you want, and you can switch it up. In this case, you know, an addition of some lentils is just going to be a new texture to bring that in there and change it up for you to keep you interested in the great foods that you are eating. Things like kale and spinach make great, they make great cooked dishes, and they also make really good raw salads. So this will be another thing. We'll put more in-depth recipes up on the blog after this, but this is just to get you some ideas of, hey, these sound like really good things. That's eating whole foods. We don't want this to be boring for you. We don't want it to be a challenge. We want you to enjoy the healthy foods that your body needs. So for dinner, I think a lot of people forget about the things you can do with whole foods. So for instance, slow cooker chicken chili, we're going to put a great recipe up for that. And again, it's really convenient. So it's not something that has to take up your whole life. We want you to be able to live your healthiest life, and that means having time to go live your healthiest life. So we want you to do that, but we also want you to enjoy it. You don't need to eat foods just because they're healthy if you don't feel like you enjoy them. So chicken chili, a steak, who doesn't love a steak with some onions, with mushrooms, with any kind of vegetable that you like. That's a great way to get your iron, your protein. There's lots of benefits to combining your steak with a vegetable, especially one rich in vitamin C like peppers or broccoli, because that helps your body absorb that iron from the steak. So all these things really work together to make you feel better. Quinoa, here's a place where you can use it other than breakfast. So again, we'll put some of these recipes up. Minestrone soup, vegetables, that's awesome. That's a great way to get everything you enjoy with a great flavor, but also be getting all the benefits. You're getting water from the vegetables, you're getting water from the broth. So you're hydrating yourself, but you're also getting all the fiber from the vegetables and the nutrients involved in those too. We also want you to have some snack ideas. You know, sometimes it's a long time before a meal is going to come up. We want you to have easy things to do so you're not grabbing chips or candy bars out of the vending machines. So these are some things, carrots or any vegetable you like with 2 tablespoons of hummus. Hummus should have chickpeas. Some of them have chickpeas, lemon juice, olive oil, and salt. Use your judgment. You know if it's an ingredient you can pronounce. You know, olive oil obviously is on this list. Chickpeas are great. And salt, you know, so just use your best judgment. Read those ingredients. If you know that they're all types of whole foods, that's a great thing to pick up. Cottage cheese with an apple. You know, some people really like, I know my grandma always did fruit in her cottage cheese. That's an awesome snack because you're getting really healthy proteins, you're getting slow digestive carbohydrates, so it's sustained energy. It's going to keep you going. Here we go, 20 almonds and some cucumber slices just to kind of switch it up. But you don't have to have these things combined. It's just some people like to have something to munch on with their snacks. And then you can always make a mini meal out of any of the things we just listed, out of any of the whole food meals that you decide to make. Those can be snacks too. You know, you don't need to eat the full portion that you would have. A snack, 100 to 200 calories maybe, but kind of depending on your schedule, that can be a useful way to have a snack too.
So like Eva said, we want you to be able to use that to enjoy your life. We know it's a lot easier when you're working and you've had a hard day to come home and order a pizza for your family than it is to prepare a full meal, but it's not going to be healthier. So now what we're going to go over is just different things that you can do to prepare for your week with eating whole foods. And I always do this on Sundays, but any day where you have more free time, if it's a different day of the week, then take advantage of that time to save yourself some stress and time after work with providing yourself with healthy meals. One of the first things we recommend doing is making a meal plan. This doesn't take too long. You know, you can download a lot of different ones online with whatever you prefer. If you want to just do dinners or all of your meals, like the one on the screen with planning out breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snacks. But plan it out for the week and then figure out your grocery list based on that. So evaluate what you have in your house already, what you have in your pantry, figure out what you need, and make your list based on that, and then go shopping. It's also important to have a lot of containers available so that everything does stay fresh throughout the entire week. I like freezer bags, and snack bags are easy. My favorite thing to use is mason jars. Those are built to be durable, so you can put them in the freezer, and it's something really quick. Airtight glass containers, this is really important, especially when you're heating. When you're reheating things, you don't want to have it in plastic. So the glass ones are great for those options. Freezer containers, the ones that are BPA free is going to be the best. You can find all these things at the grocery store, and then also just recycling your food containers. So like the cottage cheese containers or a lot of natural peanut butter containers come in the ones where it's resealable. So that's another great option if you want to do that. When it comes to preparing your protein, so one of the easiest things I think to do is chicken breast in the crock pot. So when you wake up on your meal prep day, throw that in the crock pot. You can add in broth to add some flavor. You can add in whatever seasonings you want. But if you just want to keep it really basic so that you can divide it out for different flavorings, then just do the broth or just even water will work. And cook that for 6 to 8 hours on low or high for 3 to 4 hours. If you don't have a crock pot or if you don't like using a crock pot, you can just throw chicken breast on the grill all at one time, or you can bake it. And most of the time, baking it at 350 for 30 minutes will be great. If you still want to have like red meat in your diet or the lean ground beef, like Eva said, the grass-fed is going to be the best. You can brown that up and get that ready to package, or ground turkey. Just putting these things in containers, just getting it all the way at once. It doesn't take that long, and it will save you a lot of time throughout the week. Also, just throwing throwing eggs into some boiling water to hard boil those and have those ready. That's going to be great for snacks, or if you need something for a quick breakfast, that'll work really well. And then portion out the nut serving. So this is really important. This is something that's really easy for you to overeat. So by just portioning it out right away, you're going to save your time, and you're going to save stress in the long run, so that it's not something that you can give yourself the chance to overeat. And you can still have a lot of flavor with whole foods. It's not something where you have to buy the prepackaged seasoned things. You can make your own. So we have a recipe up here for making your own taco seasoning. Next month we are going to talk about different preservatives, so you will find out about what some of those things do. Even in the seasonings that you're using, there are some things added. So you can easily make your own. Like I said, there's a taco seasoning recipe up there and the Italian seasoning one. These are both really great choices, and a lot of people like this, so it provides flavor for the entire family. You can add this after you cook up the chicken breast and cook up your ground beef. You can add seasonings to different things. So if you know that you're going to want to have a chicken taco salad, you can package up a couple things with the shredded chicken, or dice up the chicken, however you want it. Using the broth is also another easy way to add flavor. Again, we're going to recommend looking for organic, or ones that say hormone or antibiotic-free. Fresh herbs, take advantage of that. And one of the easiest things, and one of my favorites, is just adding garlic. So you can add garlic in with broth if you are doing the crock pot for a few hours. You can add that in with water, or you can just rub it on chicken breast if you are going to bake it, and you're still going to get the advantage of all that flavor. When it comes to preparing your fruit, you're going to hear a lot of different things. Sometimes people will say not to wash it because it's going to cause your produce to decay faster. I haven't had this problem. I think making a natural produce cleaner mixed of 10 parts water and 1 part vinegar works out great. The easiest thing I think to do is make sure your kitchen sink is clean, and after you go grocery shopping, fill that up with water and then add in some vinegar. Add a couple tablespoons of vinegar and have half your sink filled with water, and then wash everything in small batches. The thing you're going to want to make sure you do, though, is make sure everything is dry before you store it. So just lay a couple paper towels out on the countertop and put everything out to dry. When it comes to berries, this is a really popular fruit to have, and it's a great source of fruit to have in your diet, but they are a little bit more delicate because they are softer. So the easiest thing I think to do is place all of your berries in a strainer and then just dunk that into the water and vinegar mixture. Keep it in there for 30 seconds to a minute, and then take it out and then rinse it off with cold water. And then again, just make sure everything is dry. So this takes a little bit longer to dry, but just keep it out on the countertop and it will dry, and then store it in a container with a lid on it, but keep the lid slightly open so that the moisture can escape, and that's going to really help with keeping it fresh. With berries in general, they only typically last a few days anyway, and you want to eat them within those few days, and I always find it's easier to have them washed and ready, and you're more willing to eat them than if you don't have to prepare them more. And the vegetables are going to be the same thing. So the same concept as the fruit. Wash it in the natural produce cleaner of 10 parts water and 1 part vinegar. Wash that in small batches and then let it dry out. You're going to want to portion out anything you can use as snacks. So whatever you like, baby carrots, celery, broccoli. You can add in cherry tomatoes in there, or peppers. Just put everything in a bag so that it's something you can grab easily. You can, as Eva mentioned, the hummus with minimal ingredients, you can use that, and that's going to be a great snack for you throughout the day. You can prepare onions and peppers, just slice those up so that those are ready to go. Put those in baggies or put those in airtight containers. If you prefer cooked vegetables, I know a lot of people like that in omelets when they have time to do it, or if you're making a wrap, or you just prefer that flavor more, you can do some of those things ahead of time. So the onions and the peppers, you could saute those ahead of time and then just keep those in an airtight container, and reheat those with whatever you want. The next is going to be cauliflower. This is something that's becoming more popular right now. I do this all the time, and I love it. I think it works great, and it's pretty easy. What you want to do is just grab a head of cauliflower, break it apart, and rice it. So you can do this in either a food processor or a blender, and just get it down, break it down so it looks like it's a rice texture. And then microwave it for 5 minutes, and then let it cool, and you can store that and have that throughout the week. You can use this as a substitute for rice just by sautéing it really quick, and you can serve that with other vegetables or with your chicken breast, and you're not going to miss that starch because it's going to feel like you're eating it with the riced cauliflower. You can just reheat it. You can put it back in the microwave, and you can mash it up and use that as a substitute for mashed potatoes. And one of my favorite things to do is to mix it with fresh herbs, some ground flaxseed, and an egg white. And you can even add a little bit of low-fat cheese with it if you wanted to, or the low-fat cottage cheese. You mix that up and you shape it into a pizza crust, and you bake that in the oven for 15 minutes before adding toppings on it like you would a pizza. So you can add vegetables or chicken. You can add fresh tomatoes in there instead of the sauce, and then put that back in the oven for a little bit, and you have a great alternative for a pizza that's going to be a lot healthier. And then last, lettuce and other greens. So salad spinners work great for this. You can cut up the lettuce, you can cut up whatever greens you like. If you're planning to saute greens later on in the week, wash that up. Make sure you get the excess moisture removed. Like I said, the salad spinners work great for that. And then store in an airtight container. And I feel what always works best is taking a paper towel and just getting it a little bit wet and storing them on top of the greens, and it keeps them crispy and fresh throughout the entire week. And then just a couple other things. So this is really grains, or quinoa, like Eva said, is a great protein option for vegetarians. That's something that you can cook in a large batch. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you rinse it. That's going to remove the outer bitter shell on it. And then you just put it in a pan with 1 part quinoa, 2 parts liquid. You can do chicken broth or whatever kind of broth you like, or water. You bring that to a boil, cover it, and then let it simmer for 15 minutes, and that's all ready to go. So cool that off, and then you can freeze that in individual servings. You can put that in bags and just flatten it out and put it in the freezer to take up minimal space. And that actually defrosts really well, so it defrosts in just a couple hours if you just want to throw it in the fridge, or you can put it into a container and microwave it for a little bit if you need it right away. But that's something great you can either have in the fridge if you're going to use it within the next couple days, or in the freezer for later on in the week. Oatmeal. You can prepare oatmeal ahead of time. Again, this is another thing where you could use the crock pot if you wanted. You can mix 1 cup of oats with 3 cups of liquid almond milk if you want something creamier, or you can use water, and then just add your favorite oatmeal mix-ins. Cinnamon and diced apples is a really popular one. I think blueberries and flax is great. And you can cook that in the crock pot on low for 3 hours, and then you can place that in individual airtight containers. Again, I think mason jars would work great for this because it's something that you can just grab in the morning and heat up. Or doing overnight oatmeal, where this requires no cooking. You just combine 1/2 cup of oats and 1/2 cup of low-fat milk or almond milk, and you just stir that up and then top that with nuts or fruit, flax, cinnamon, any type of seasoning that you like, and then just stick it in the refrigerator after you cover it up. And by the next morning, you can just mix it up, and it's just like an oatmeal consistency without having to do anything. And you can do this ahead of time. You can do a couple of bowls or a couple of mason jars and have this throughout the week as well as just a quick breakfast. And then just having some ready-to-eat meals. This isn't something you have to do every week, but I think it's great to have. We're going to be posting a great recipe for zucchini lasagna. I think this is something where after you've gotten your vegetables prepped and everything, you make this. You can use those foil containers and make 2 of them. So make 2 lasagnas and stick both of them in the oven. You can have one of them for dinner that night and then freeze the other one to use on a different weekend or a different night of the week. Soup is also something that freezes well. Minestrone and the chicken chili that Eva mentioned, You can make that. Again, mason jars work awesome for this. You just pour it into the mason jar. Leave about an inch of space at the top so that when it freezes and expands, it doesn't explode. But stick those in the freezer and then pull them out a couple hours ahead of time to defrost, and you can just put that entire thing in the microwave. And then mason jar salads is the last one. So you can do liquid on the bottom of the jar, or you can leave that on the side in a separate container to keep your vegetables really fresh, but then just layer whatever you want on your salad and top with your protein. And you can do a week's worth of these at a time, so that all you have to do is grab that, and then you can either eat it, mix it up in the mason jar and eat it that way, or dump it out into a bowl and enjoy your salad that way.
All right, so just to kind of cover what we talked about, there was a lot of information, but hopefully, again, this is going to make it easier for you to incorporate whole foods into your life as often as you can. You want to eat foods in their natural state. You want to get foods without labels when possible. And you want to make it easy on yourself. There's this saying that says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So with all the tips that Stacy offered you, with other ways that you can think of to incorporate these into your life, make it easy on yourself so that it's something you enjoy and so that it's easy enough to grab for yourself rather than run into the vending machine. So we are low on time, but as always, we do want your feedback. So you can contact us at healthcoach@healthtech360.com. We'll have this recording as well as all the other recordings of our past webinars up on our blog, healthtech360blog.com, within a few days, and we'll post those recipes also. You can also follow us on Twitter. We post tips and tricks for just keeping wellness on your mind every day. So